Welcome to A Year of War and Peace. I'm your host, Brian E. Denton. A Year of War and Peace is a daily, year-long, chapter-by-chapter reading of and meditation on Leo Tolstoy's epic novel, War and Peace. In these videos and podcasts, you'll be treated to a free reading of one chapter per day of the novel, plus a reflective essay I've written individually tailored to that day's chapter. These readings are offered for free, though if you'd like to support me, you can do so in one of three ways. First, you could purchase my ebook, A Year of War and Peace. It features the entire novel, plus all of my reflective essays, and it's only $2.99 on Amazon.com. You could also become a patron at patreon.com/BrianEDenton. If you sign up there, you'll receive a sonnet once a month, plus a link to an ebook of my collected sonnets. Finally, if you like, you can make a one-time donation to my PayPal account. The email there is brianedenton@gmail.com. You can also use that email to contact me. I'd be happy to hear from you. Your support is greatly appreciated.
Today's reading and reflection is on Chapter 235. Chapter 235. On the 30th of August, Pierre reached Moscow. Close to the gates of the city, he was met by Count Rapotchin's adjutant. "We have been looking for you everywhere," said the adjutant. "The Count wants to see you particularly. He asks you to come to him at once on a very important matter." Without going home, Pierre took a cab and drove to see the Moscow commander-in-chief. Count Rapotchin had only the morning returned to town from his summer villa at Sokolinki. The anteroom and reception room of his house were full of officials who had been summoned or who had come for orders. Vassilchikov and Platov had already seen the Count and explained to him that it was impossible to defend Moscow, and that it would have to be surrendered. Though this news was being concealed from the inhabitants, the officials, the heads of the various government departments, knew that Moscow would soon be in the enemy's hands, just as Count Rapotchin himself knew it. And to escape personal responsibility, they had all come to the governor to ask how they were to deal with their various departments. As Pierre was entering the reception room, a courier from the army came out of Rapotchin's private room. In answer to questions with which he was greeted, the courier made a despairing gesture with his hand and passed through the room. While waiting in the reception room, Pierre with wary eyes watched the various officials, old and young, military and civilian, who were there. They all seemed dissatisfied and uneasy. Pierre went up to a group of men, one of whom he knew. After greeting Pierre, they continued their conversation. "If they sent out and brought back again later on, it will do no harm, but as things are now, one can't answer for anything." "But you see what he writes," said another, pointing to a printed sheet he held in his hand. "That's another matter. That's necessary for the people," said the first. "What is it?" asked Pierre. "Oh, it's a fresh broadsheet." Pierre took it and began reading. "His Serene Highness has passed through Mozhask in order to join up with the troops moving toward him, and has taken up a strong position where the enemy will not soon attack him. 48 guns with ammunition have been sent him from here, and His Serene Highness says he will defend Moscow to the last drop of blood, and is even ready to fight in the streets. Do not be upset, brothers, that the law courts are closed. Things have to be put in order, and we will deal with the villains in our own way. When the time comes, I shall want both town and peasant lads, and will raise a cry a day or two beforehand. But they are not yet wanted, so I hold my peace. An axe will be useful, a hunting spear not bad, but a 3-pronged fork will be best of all. A Frenchman is no heavier than a sheaf of rye. Tomorrow after dinner I shall take the Iberian icon of the Mother of God to the wounded in the Catherine Hospital, where we will have some more water blessed. That will help them to get well quicker. I, too, am well now. One of my eyes was sore, but now I am on the lookout with both." "But military men have told me that it's impossible to fight in the town," said Pierre, "and that the position—" "Well, of course, that's just what we were saying," replied the first speaker. "And what does he mean, one of my eyes was sore, but I now look out with both?" asked Pierre. "The Count had a sty," replied the adjutant, smiling, "and was very much upset when I told him people had come to ask what was the matter with him. By the by, Count," he added suddenly, addressing Pierre with a smile, "we heard that you have family troubles, and that the Countess, your wife—" "I have heard nothing," Pierre replied unconcernedly. "But what have you heard?" "Oh, well, you know, people often invent things. I only say what I heard." "But what did you hear?" "Well, they say continued the adjutant with the same smile, that the Countess, your wife, is preparing to go abroad. I expect it's nonsense. Possibly, remarked Pierre, looking about him absent-mindedly. And who is that? He asked, indicating a short old man in a clean blue peasant overcoat, with a big snow-white beard and eyebrows and a ruddy face. He? That's a tradesman. That is to say, he's the restaurant keeper. Perhaps you have heard of an affair with the proclamation. Oh, him, said Pierre, looking at the firm, calm face of the old man and seeking any indication of his being a traitor. That's not he himself. That's the father of the fellow who wrote the proclamation, said the adjutant. The young man is in prison, and I expect it will go hard with him. An old gentleman wearing a star and another official, a German wearing a cross around his neck, approached the speaker. It's a complicated story, you know, said the adjutant. The proclamation appeared about 2 months ago. The Count was informed of it. He gave orders to investigate the matter. Gabriel Ivanovitch here made inquiries. The proclamation had passed through exactly 63 hands. He asked one, "From where did you get it?" "From so-and-so." He went on to the next one. "From whom did you get it?" And so on, until it reached Vereshchagin, a half-educated tradesman, you know, a pet of a trader, said the adjutant, smiling. They asked him, "Who gave it to you?" And the point is that we knew whom he had it from. He could only have had it from the postmaster, but evidently they had come to some understanding. He replied, "From no one, I made it up myself." They threatened and questioned him, but he stuck to that, "I made it up myself." And so it was reported to the Count, who sent for the man, "From whom did you get the proclamation?" "I wrote it myself." "Well, you know the Count," said the adjutant cheerfully, with a smile of pride. He flared up dreadfully, and just think of the fellow's audacity, lying, and obstinacy. "And the Count wanted him to say it was from Khlyruchev? I understand," said Pierre. "Not at all," rejoined the adjutant in dismay. "Khlyruchev had his own sins to answer for without that, and that is why he has been banished. But the point is that the Count was much annoyed. 'How could you have written it yourself?' said he. And he took up the Hamburg Gazette that was lying on the table. 'Here it is. You didn't write it yourself, but translated it, and translated it abominably, because you don't even know French, you fool.' And what do you think?" "No," said he. "I have not read any papers. I made it up myself." "If that's so, you're a traitor, and I'll have you tried, and you'll be hanged." "Say from whom you had it." "I have seen no papers. I made it up myself." And that was the end of it. The Count had the father fetched, but the fellow stuck to it. He was sent for trial and condemned to hard labor, I believe. Now the father has come in to intercede for him, but he's a good-for-nothing lad. You know that sort of tradesman's son, a dandy and a lady-killer. He attended some lecture somewhere and imagines that the devil is no match for him. That's the sort of fellow he is. His father keeps a cook shop here by the stone bridge, and you know there was a large icon of God Almighty painted with the scepter in one hand and an orb in the other. Well, he took that icon home with him for a few days, and what did he do? He found some scoundrel of a painter. Right, that concludes my reading of chapter 235. 235. I will now proceed to my reflection on the same. A Year of War and Peace, day 235. To be honest. Pierre has decamped from a field of killing only to fall into a pit of snakes. At least at the Battle of Borodino, it was the enemy harming him. Home now in Moscow, he finds that not even the bonds of nationhood protect him against the iniquities of his fellow countrymen. We expect him to encounter some level of vileness from his wife. She is, after all, planning to divorce him and marry another, maybe even 2 others. Before he returns home, however, he is accosted by one of Count Raspachin's adjutants at the city gates. He's told that the Count has been looking for him and requests his presence immediately. Pierre obliges. At Raspachin's, he finds the Count preparing a new broadsheet for distribution. The broadsheet is a catalogue of lies and deceit. It says that Kutuzov has taken up a strong position in order to defend Moscow. He has not. It says that Moscow will not be occupied. It will. It orders all patriotic Muscovites to take up arms of any sort to fight against the French invaders. To do so will only doom them. Note here Pierre's practice of the lessons he learned from his dream. In that dream, he was told simplicity is submission to the will of God, and that the spoken word is silver, while the unspoken word is golden. Pierre does challenge Rostopchin's people by observing that Moscow will be invaded and it will be impossible to fight in her streets. When he's told that is exactly what the broadsheet says, Pierre makes no response to this obvious falsehood. Then, When he's told that he has family troubles waiting for him at home, he responds unconcernedly. I'd like to think Pierre is using his silence and submission to learn other lessons as well. Today, for instance, watching Raspachin's people prepare their mendacious broadsheet, perhaps he's learning the value and virtue of honesty. Daily meditation. Never value anything as profitable to thyself, which shall compel thee to break thy promise, to lose thy self-respect, to hate any man, to suspect, to curse, to act a hypocrite, to desire anything which needs walls and curtains. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. All right, that concludes my reading of and reflection on chapter 235. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for joining me. Remember that if you'd like to support me, you can do so either by purchasing the ebook, A Year of War and Peace, becoming a patron at patreon.com, or making a one-time donation to PayPal. The links to all that are down below in the show notes. Tomorrow, we're going to be reading and reflecting on chapter 236. I hope you'll join me. Until then, take care of yourselves and others.